Welcome to TSU Human Performance Sports Science Podcast, where we dive into the fascinating world of sports science and innovation, right here at Tennessee State University.
We are your hosts,
I'm Neil Monet
and Franka Sindicic, and today we are taking you on an exciting journey to educate, entertain, and keep you up to date of happenings right here on our campus.
In each episode of TSU HPSS, we'll bring you exclusive interviews with our expert faculty, coaches, student athletes, and our students from our departments who are making stride in this field.
You will gain the insights into the latest training techniques, nutrition strategies, and sports psychology breakthroughs that are now shaping the future of sports performance.
All while bringing it to you from an HBCU perspective. Welcome everybody to our new TSU HBSS podcast. Today with us, Dr. Johnson. Welcome to our podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you.
All right, so Dr. Johnson's gonna introduce himself, tell us where he's from, what he's doing at TSU, and again, welcome to our HBSS podcast.
Great. Well, I'm Owen Johnson, and I'm in the Health Sciences Department. Well, it's really a lot longer than that. It's the Public Health, Health Administration, Health Science Department, where we have we have 2 bachelor's programs, we have a master's program, and we have 2 certificate programs, one in undergrad healthcare administration and one in master's program and certification in public health. So that's my domain. That's where I hide out. That's where I've been at. I've been at TSU from 2007, and I'm a full professor. So I've been here for a while, and I enjoy teaching. I love my students, and I love TSU. I'm not a graduate from TSU, but I graduated from an HBCU, Fort Valley. So I do have HBCU running in my blood. So that's my welcome.
All right. Tell us a little bit about the classes that you teach at TSU.
Okay, so the classes you teach at TSU depends upon your training, your specialization. So my formal training is in public health. So I'm a public health practitioner. I got my doctorate in public health, and I have a master's in economics and an undergrad in economics. So I'm certified to teach courses at TSU at the undergraduate level, the master's level, and in the PhD level. So I teach at all levels, and the courses that I teach are usually statistics, numbers related. So economics, and I do some research methods, and I teach statistics both at the master's level and the PhD level. So I teach across all of the 3 main areas in TSU, and so it's fun. And I'm going to tell you this: the students that give me the most challenge are the undergrad.
Yeah.
The graduate students are a lot more mature, they're more experienced. You don't have to motivate them to do work, because they already come in knowing what they want, and you just guide them. But with undergrads, it's a lot of effort to keep them on track.
Yeah, because they probably don't even know what they want to do and why they're taking this class yet. So, do you have a different style of teaching for every classification?
Well, so as I said, because undergraduate takes a lot more effort, because think about them, many of them are 19, 20, very young, young adolescents. So a lot of them are unsure of what they want, and they're getting caught up in typical out of class activity like entertainment and fun, and then jobs too, because a lot of students do work. So oftentimes they kind of get their priorities misplaced in terms of studying and their academics, and you got to be constantly, encouraging them to study and do their preps, do their homework, and do their teaching. So as I said, undergraduates take a lot more effort to keep on track. With the graduate students now who have already done their undergrad first degree, and they're more career driven, with them you don't have to take a lot. It doesn't take a lot effort. So, you have your syllabus, you have your orientation, you tell them what is expected, and you say, okay, this is what you show them the end result. You show them this is what we want you to achieve, and they're kind of like, well, okay, and here's the pathway to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Our job is not to hold your hand and get there, but we will guide you as best as possible. So, reach out, ask questions, utilize your resources, because one of the things with graduate school, unlike undergrad, you have a lot of resources, but nobody's not going to come and ask you, well, you have to reach out. So with undergraduate faculty, teachers, mentors, they tend to reach out to you. With the graduate level, it's kind of the other way, you better reach out. You need to take the first step and then you get guided. So it's a little bit different. Now with the doctoral students now, they're even more mature, but they still need guidance. So it's more hands-on work with the undergrad and more directing and guiding for the graduate students. A little bit different.
I see. I feel like we're going too fast in that podcast. I feel like I want to come back to your journey. I want to come back to how did you get to TSU? How did you get to teach classes? If that was your first thought, if that was what you always wanted to do, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay, great. So originally, you can probably tell from my accent, I'm from Jamaica, and I migrated to the United States primarily for education. Like most Caribbean, students, we either migrate to the U.S. either for athletics or for education. So my migration was primarily motivated by academics. So I got an academic scholarship, and I first attended Valdosta State University right down there in Georgia, border, the state line of Georgia and Florida. Then I transferred to Fort Valley State to finish my undergrad there. Then I got another scholarship, academic scholarship, to go to University of Kentucky to do my master's. So I completed my master's there, and then I got another scholarship to do my PhD at the University of Kentucky. So you can see that for me, academics was a very good incentive for, matriculating college, because at every step of this, at every stage or every step, I was able to get an academic scholarship, which made it a lot easier. Because with studies, you ain't got the money, you ain't got that scholarship. It's going to be a whole lot difficult. Yeah. So I was fortunate to ensure that my grades are good, and I was rewarded with academic scholarships. So I got my PhD at the University of Kentucky in public health, focusing in biostatistics and environmental health. And from there, I got a job in Long Beach, California. So I left East Coast and went to West Coast. So 3,000 miles away. I worked in California for a year, but then one of my classmates graduated here from TSU. So when she finished her master's, she came back to TSU. She got a job. That was Terry Fox. So she said, hey, they need a statistician here in our program, in our department, and, your stats, so why don't you apply? So I applied, got the job. That was in 2007. Left California, moved back to the East Coast, and I've been with TSU from 2007 till now. So that's kind of how my journey is, But as you can see, it's, talking about students and academics, it's very important for students to, keep their grades up. It makes a difference, especially when you are not coming from a very established financial family where you don't have old money. You better have some good GPA. It can do a lot of wonders for you, open a lot of doors, a lot of opportunities, So that's what was the primary inspiration for me ending up where I ended up. It was just, good academic work, good academic discipline, getting good grades, and taking all the opportunities that unfolded.
Was teaching always has been your goal?
No, that's a very interesting question. So while I was at the University of Kentucky, I was one exam away from finishing a PhD in economics. But that would have led me to teaching, straight up teaching. And I was, teaching, So at that point, I was very suspect about career in teaching. So I made I kind of stepped back from academics, being a student, and think about, if teaching is what I want to do with this degree. And in that process, I end up gotten introduced to public health, which is kind of a good marriage between economics and health. So, at that point, when I put my two experiences together. I was like, yeah, I can do this. So at that point, when I decided to pursue public health, then teaching was, it seems like a very, feasible option. At that point, it took on greater meaning than if I would probably just to teach straight economics. So, so initially teaching was not my first choice, but when I transitioned to the discipline of public health, that, that is a multidiscipline. This public health involves a lot of other areas, epidemiology, statistics, environment, health behavior, psychology. With that broad of a base for public health, then, teaching takes on a new dimension or a different dimension, and it became a lot more enjoyable. So that's when I decided that teaching would be fine.
I see. So you feel you kind of find some joy into being versatile, into being like get to one subject to another subject, be able to like cover different teach different classes. That's what you like.
Right.
Yeah.
So by definition, when you're when you're doing public health, like we mentioned early on in HPSS, there are several concentrations.
Right.
When you're doing public health, you have to choose one area to specialize, but you're trained in all of the other areas. So
I see.
So while I was a statistician by training, I had to do environmental health. I still had to do policy. I still had to do health behavior, and I still had to do, behavioral sciences. So those areas, even though they're not my specialty, you still have the training where if you need to teach or you need to lead in those areas, you can. So that's one of the advantage of doing a multidiscipline course or a multidiscipline track. You can teach or focus in any one of those areas outside of the one that you specialize in. So yes, it's good to know that you are flexible in your training, where you can take on one or two different roles in your discipline. Yeah.
So what would be your specific current role at TSU besides being a professor? Do you do anything else?
Okay, so, in academia, there are three areas of evaluation. You're evaluated on your teaching, you're evaluated on your research work, scholarly work, and you evaluated on your service. So those are the three areas. So every faculty here at most institution has to do, all three of those, or at least two. So yes, I do teaching. So, as I said, I teach at both the graduate level and undergraduate level, but I also do research. So my research involves, as a public health practitioner, research involves a lot in behavior. So I do a lot of research in cancer behavior and health prevention, and health communication and health awareness. Now, my role as a researcher is not the primary investigator. My role as a statistician is to ensure that the statistics is solid.
Right. Yeah.
So, and most grants, most research that are sponsored by the government requires you to have a statistician to ensure that the research is done properly. So I do get a lot of invites to be a part of a lot of grants and a lot of research, primarily because there has to be a statistician on the team. And so that's how I get a lot of invites into doing a lot of research. I do a lot of research for various departments, because I've done research with HPSS. So I've done some research with your department. I've done some research with physical therapy as well, and I've done some research with education. So, I'm kind of, do research with a lot of colleagues across the campus. And of course, service is also another area. So you have to do a lot of service, So part of my service is that I volunteer my statistical training to a lot of doctoral students to be in their committee, because on a lot of dissertations committee as well, you got to have a statistician. Mm-hmm. So I volunteer my expertise for students who are doing their doctorate to be their statistician. So that's, completely volunteer. So I do. So I kind of do all three of them.
So you basically a professor, a researcher. What else?
Well, so in terms of professional, those are pretty the main things. So most faculty, well, all faculty, we have to do a minimum of 15 credit hours. So that's usually 5 classes.
Okay.
Or you have to, so 5 classes is the minimum you're expected to teach. So, so from semester to semester, you can kind of, do 4 with research. So you kind of like balance it out, So throughout the semester, I'll be doing both teaching, research, and service. I'll be doing all 3 of them. So yeah, stay busy.
I see. So you've been in TSU since 2007, that's right? So how many years that makes? Do the math for me. 17.
17.
I go 17.
17, yeah, going on.
I was the first one. So 17 years. So how do you stay motivated? Yeah, where do you get your motivation from to keep going, and what are your visions?
Okay, so academia as a profession, the motivation comes not from the salary. We all know that teachers don't get the highest pay, but the motivation comes from the students and the reward you get from seeing your students graduating and going on to become doctors, going on to become, coaches, going on to become, successful members of society, and, while you are nurturing your students, whether it's undergrad or graduate, throughout your class experience, your students, of course, are going to tell you, oh, you're hard, you make me work so hard, and you're so hard, and, but then later on, 5 years later, they come back and tell you, thank you for being that strict disciplinarian.
Yeah.
Thank you for teaching me these hard skills, because they have made a difference in my life. As I compete for other jobs or as I perform my job, these skills I realize were all good, and they come back and they'll tell you, thank you for being hard. Thank you for being disciplined. Thank you for being tough. And so, it's those moments that you say, I'm glad I love my job. So it's, so it's the joy of having and seeing your students successful at whatever they do, that's one of the motivation for me. And, teaching, you don't stay in teaching, as I said, for the money. You stay in teaching because you love it.
Right.
And I've often said, job satisfaction is critical to your personal development and happiness. If you hate your job, then you're not going to stay there for long, and you're going to be miserable, right?
Yeah.
But when you love your job, as they say, what's the saying going? If your job is something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life,
right?
Because you're always enjoying it. So for me, I hold that motto dear to me. I enjoy working with my students. I often call myself a student driven person, student driven teacher, faculty mentor. So it's just the joy of seeing your students succeed, and to know that however they may perceive you, however difficult they may perceive you at the onset, to know that later on they can come back and tell you that they appreciate the work that you've done for them. And as I said, you often see your students come back, they get good jobs,
Yeah.
and they become CEOs, or they become doctors, PhD doctors in other areas, and they often will reference or talk about you to their colleagues, to their peers, and to their employer as to how influential a professor is or a person was. So that's the joy for me that keeps me motivated. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it too, if you go from semester to semester, you have a different batch of students. Every semester is a new batch of students. If you think about it, each semester brings a new set of students with new challenges.
Exactly.
So even though you might be teaching the same course, the challenge is different, because every semester, every batch of students is different. And you have to find a way to reach out to them, because remember, when you start a semester with a new batch of students, not everybody's on the same level. But the goal, when you're finished, they all have to be on the same level. So you as the instructor have to find a way to connect to those students, so that as you unfold your material, as you teach them throughout the semester, you have that end vision in mind. I know this is how I want you all to end up. And I've got the person who's at the lowest level, I got to bring that person up, without at the same time holding back this person who's already the high overachiever. So So these are the challenges that, for me, keeps me up awake at night, keeps me figuring out, well, how can I? So after the first couple of weeks, you realize the mix of your students' talent and their skill and your challenge, how do I reach out to these students? Because part of teaching is to understand the strength and weakness of your students, right? And as you are teaching, as you're lecturing, you can look at the students' faces, you're like, well, they didn't get that, or that person. So you have to okay, let me try to come from a different angle. But if you're not in tune to their facial expression, their nonverbal communication, you just skip that moment and you keep on talking when you can see that clearly the person, that quizzical look. Because sometimes students will not raise their hand and ask. They kind of are shy,
Yeah.
Some students are very vocal. They're like, sir, I don't get that. Can you? But others just give you that quizzical look, So these are the kind of things where over time, with years of experience, you kind of on into and get better at doing, and you can tell. And then, of course, also you have certain topics that are very difficult from experience. You know that, okay, this is the one topic that students kind of struggle with. So as you prepare these topics, you're constantly thinking, how can I simplify it? How can I present it such that it minimizes the stress and it increases their understanding? So it's, teaching is an ongoing challenge, and you have to always rise to the occasion so that your students can relate to you on what you're teaching them.
It sounds like you're talking about a sport. It sounds like you're the player and you're trying to figure out your opponent, and you're always trying to find their weakness, their strength. It really sounds like it, and that really clicked to me as a coach. So I really get it.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to ask also what would be the challenges, but you basically answered the question.
Yeah, I had a question too. So I relate a lot to your story as a foreigner as well. Plus, I'm from the Caribbean too. But you mentioned that your academic success brought you a lot of scholarship that helped you going from undergrad to grad to getting your PhD. So do the public health department offer some scholarship? I want to use that podcast to help out the students. And so is there any help provided for the students to get any type of academic scholarships?
Okay, so HBCUs like TSU, unfortunately, we do not have big money to offer scholarships. However, the graduate school, our program, the Masters in Public Health, we are assigned at least 2 scholarships every year. So we know we have 2 scholarships each year where we can offer to our students. So those are competitive scholarships, usually based on the students' GPA coming in. So once again, GPA is critical to success. So we usually, so whatever the size of the class coming in, they will let you know if they're interested in applying for a scholarship, and we will accept their application. And usually the students who have the best GPA and also have the best holistic experience. You can write grants or you can do literature review. So it's a holistic approach, but it's usually the first criteria is you got to have a GPA of 3.0 or higher. So that's usually a benchmark. But outside of the scholarship that the graduate school offers directly to our MPH program, the graduate school also offer other scholarships to other programs. So in other words, so let us say we have 20 students in our public health program. We offer 2 scholarships. So we have 18 other students who do not. But those 18 students can get other graduate scholarship from other departments. So for example, agriculture have a lot of scholarships. You can get scholarship from there. Title III has lots of scholarships. So just depending on where they apply. So when we get our students each semester, we encourage them, if you're not able to get one of our scholarship, don't let that stop you. The university has scholarships all over in other departments. And one of the good thing about our program is that because we teach our students a lot of statistics, almost everybody needs a statistician. So a lot of our students, because of their statistics, they compete well for other scholarships because a lot of other programs, they're doing like grants and they're doing data management, and they want somebody who they don't have to teach to do the stats and the data management. So we tell them, with your statistical training, you will compete well for other scholarships here at TSU. So unfortunately, we don't have like maybe 10 scholarships to offer. But we have at least 2 guaranteed, and with other scholarships around campus, our students. And we have some people. We have some programs like sponsored research, agriculture. Every year they keep on. You guys have any more students? Because the students we send them do so well. They always come back and ask us, "Do you have any more?" So we have established a good reputation for our students in terms of the graduate assistants work that they do. So yeah.
So speaking, you are collaborating, let's say, with the agriculture department and other departments in school. So can you tell us, do you do something with HPSS department as well?
Yeah, so it was probably a couple of years ago. We were looking at students' perception of sports drinks, those energy sports drinks, right? So we did a study with them trying to figure out what are their knowledge and perception about, I guess, the benefits or the disadvantages of sports drink. So we did that study with them, and it was surprising. Well, not surprising. The result was somewhat consistent. So a lot of the athletes were aware of the dangers of sports drinks, these high energy sports drinks, and they're saying that 75% of them say they did not participate or partake of these energy drink. And then unfortunately, some students or some people take them with alcohol. It's kind of like a cocktail. They're saying, no, we don't do that. And then another 80% says they did not take these high energy drink while they were performing or at events. So that's what we did, and it got published. So there but other studies kind of showed a similar pattern. So, but the thing with research, research tend to generalize the results. In other words, it's not going to show you the outliers, the ones who are very high or the ones who are very low. Just kind of tell you those in the average. So it's possible that you have students or athletes who are abusing these energy drinks and so on, or people or athletes who just don't take them at all, So, so that was a research that we did with HPSS and PT. So that was interesting.
Okay, and do you have any more questions?
Yeah, I wanna hear about an advice that you would give any student, any freshman. Anything that you have in mind that you would tell any freshman.
Yeah. Would it be like keep high on your GPA and keep your grades up high? Because I know that GPA is kind of your path. That is what gave you a lot of opportunities.
Right. So my advice would be for first-year freshmen or any classification. So, but primarily those who are just starting college, and you guys are not my age, but you guys are past undergraduate age. We all remember when we started college, right? 18, 19, a lot of times we don't even know what we want, or, a lot of times we're doing some of the things, a lot of students are doing things because either their parents want or their uncle or their aunt says they should do it, not because, they genuinely want. So the first year of college for a lot of students is discovery. My mama said I should become a nurse, or my doctor want me to become a lawyer, or, my dad want me to become a tennis player. But then when you get here, you realize, oh, this is really not for me, right? Yeah, So you got to figure out yourself. So, but on the other extreme, which is not a very large extreme, you have some students coming in knowing exactly what they want. For example, as a health science teacher, I have had several students coming who want to do PT, and they've known this from they were in high school. They want to become a physical therapist, and they know all the courses they need. They know all the universities. They know all the steps. They know all the exams. They know. I'm like, wow. So those students you don't have to worry about because you just kind of guide them.
Yeah.
So the ones, the challenging ones are the ones who are either doing a major because somebody referred them, or parents or a family member. Those are the ones you gotta guide, because then if it's not a match, if they don't like it, they're gonna be floating around and wondering. And you gotta hey, wake up, is this what you want to do? Well, not really, not any. When you look at their grade and their performance, you're like, well, it's not matching up. So is this what you really want to do? Well, not really. Well, let's figure out what you want to do. So a lot of time, for the first 2 years for some students, is a discovery. So they need counseling, they need mentors, they need guidance, because if you're in a major that you don't like, you're not going to be working hard, and therefore your GPA is going to suffer. So it becomes difficult for you later on to convince anybody that you're serious. Come to find out, well, you were just in the wrong major. So a lot of times, it's important for us to get close to our freshmen and even sophomore and try to figure out, man, okay, your GPA ain't all that great. Maybe it's because you don't like this major. How do you figure out, right? And then you kind of, guide them. You have another 2 years, 3 years left, kind of guide them, make transfer to a, relevant major and so on. So it's a lot of, and especially HBCU, a lot of it is being close to the students, understanding their history, Some of them, a lot of them are first-time graduate, first in their family to have a degree. So you got to guide them. So a lot of it is, is understanding, and then, try to give these students the confidence where they can come to you and talk, because a lot of times students, they'll talk with their peers, but they won't talk to their mentors, unless they're in trouble or, they're failing, they're on probation. But if we can get students to really talk a lot earlier, in terms of, well, okay, why aren't you doing so well? Is it the major, is it the course, or is it the teacher? What is it, so we can better guide them? So for me, I think it's, no, unfortunately, for me, we don't get our students until they're in their junior year. Okay. We get, as a health science major, they do their first 2 years, in their doing their Gen 8. So we don't get them, we don't see them. So when we get them, they're at juniors going on to seniors. So in a lot of cases, it's kind of too late, because they've already gone so far down this pathway. To change, you're going to be like, well, okay, if I change now, I got to do so many new different courses. So those ones are the challenging ones, when you get but the ones who are, very, resolved, know what they want, those you just kind of guide them. And the ones who are kind of undecided, so encouragement has a lot to do with it. And, as simple as it might be, like the question I asked you guys early on, when you finish with your degree, what are you going to do with it? How do you see yourself using this? Yeah. And you can tell if they're like, never thought about that, well, okay, we got some work to do, because, you got to kind of open up to them so many different opportunities. Here are some ways you can use your bachelor's degree in health sciences, in public health. Here are some ways, and but the unfortunate thing is, an undergraduate degree alone is not going to give you much leverage. You got to go on to at least a master's in a lot of fields. Yeah. Except for healthcare administration. Healthcare administration is the only undergraduate degree that once you finish that, you don't need no more studies. Okay. Your healthcare administration. Once you get an HCAP degree, you can get a job, never go back to school, and just work with a company, an organization, and work your way up to the top. So outside of HCAP, unfortunately, students do need a second degree. Okay. And sometimes they don't know and they can't figure it out, then they need counseling. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. That's very educational. We love that advice. Right. That will be all the questions that we had for you. Do you have any more questions for us?
No, I really enjoyed the experience and sharing my experience with the podcast, and hopefully something I have said can be as a motivation or an inspiration for, someone who is listening, someone who would tend to, attend college, preferably TSU, but if not, take opportunities, seize opportunities, because, in your youth, you're at a crossroads. The decision you make when you're 18, 20, 22, 25 will determine the rest of your life. True. And you want to ensure that you get good counsel, get good advice, and use all the resources available. Your parents are good, your family is good, but there's a lot of resources outside of your own. Your school is a great source. As it says, it takes a village to raise a child. So that's my part.
That's very true. Okay, thank you very much then, and have a good day.
All right.
Thank you.